that we are ready to go. All right, everybody has their notes out. You put your homework away. So the sheet that you picked up from the cube is your homework for tonight. I don't want to see it. I don't want you to be working on it. Okay. So today we're going to continue on to the next type of verbal, and we're talking gerunds. And I am not kidding you when I say that gerunds are my favorite verbal. I don't know, they're just really fun. I just very much enjoy them. I like how they look when you diagram them. I like how they function in sentences. I feel like they're one of the easier ones to spot. Like, gerunds are sweet. So hopefully you guys will have a good time with gerunds. You know, as good of a time as you can have with a verbal. But here we go. So gerunds. A gerund is a verb form that ends in ing that is used as a noun. Okay, and that is like the key distinguishing thing about a gerund from all of the other verbals. Okay, it's the ing and noun functioning. So we have to be careful because remember when we talked about participles yesterday, we also have participles that look like a verb and end in ing. The present participles, you guys remember that? Give me some indication that you remember that. Like nod your head yes or no. Either way is fine. Okay? So participles can also end in ing, but who remembers how do the participles function in a sentence? What part of speech do participles function as? Maddie? They function as adjectives. Okay? Gerunds, they function as nouns. Okay? They will always 100% of the time be a noun in a sentence. So again, it's going to look like a verb, but it's going to be in the spot where a noun should be. So here would be an example of that. Walking is good exercise. So walking, it looks like a verb, it ends in ing, but it's functioning as a noun in that sentence. What part of the sentence is walking functioning as? What do we think? Remember when we label our different parts of the sentence, subject, verb, object, what part of the sentence is walking functioning as? Marcus? It's the subject. Okay, now remember, we always have to have a noun or a pronoun as the subject. So since it's in that subject spot, it's functioning as a noun. Pretty cool, huh? Okay, and then I explained it there, but I already explained it. Now, you can check gerunds by using what's called the IT test. So what you do with the IT test is when you identify a gerund, okay, so here's another one. He loves swimming. Okay, swimming is a gerund. We have the subject he, the verb loves, and swimming is functioning as the direct object. Okay, again, your objects always have to be nouns, so it's in the place of a noun functioning as a noun. So what you can do with the IT test to check and make sure that you have a gerund is you can just replace the gerund with the word it. If the sentence still makes sense, then you know that you've correctly identified a gerund. If the sentence doesn't make sense, if you replace what you think is a gerund with the word it, you haven't found a gerund. Okay? So he loves it. Makes perfect sense. So we know, yay, we found a gerund. Okay, gerunds can be used as any of these parts of a sentence. They can be used as a subject, a direct object, an indirect object, an object of the preposition, or a predicate nominative. Okay, that's what all of those things stand for. Because all of those parts of a sentence have to be nouns. So here would be an example of a direct object. She enjoys jogging. She is the subject, enjoys is the verb, jogging is the direct object. Here's one as the subject. Running is not hard. Running is the subject, is the verb, hard is the predicate nominative. Adjective. Predicate adjective. Okay. Now gerunds, again, remember, always end in ing. So like I said before, we have to be really careful not to confuse them with present participles, which also end in ing. But remember, the participles will always function as adjectives, describing or adding more information about a noun in a sentence, and gerunds will always function as a noun in a sentence. So we're going to do some practice identifying between participles and gerunds. So I want you to take a look at this underlined word here, and I want you to see if you can figure out, is this functioning as a gerund or as a participle? So really you're asking yourself, is this functioning as an adjective or as a noun? Let's try to finish in 5. Okay. So really, to figure this out, all you have to do is label your sentence. I sometimes think when we're working with verbals, it's easier to find the verb first. So what's the verb in this sentence? Dance? What's the verb in this sentence? Is. There you go. Okay, is our verb. It's one of our linking verbs. Okay, so here we have to figure out, okay, well, what's the subject that goes along with that verb is? Well, what do you guys think? What's the subject of this sentence? Marcus, what do you think? If our verb is, what's our subject? Thinking. Now, what's clearly? If it ends in ly, it's probably a what? Adverb. I heard somebody say it. Okay, it's probably an adverb because most adverbs, or a lot of adverbs, not most, a lot of adverbs end in ly. So clearly, it's giving us more information about is. Thinking is our subject. So it's in the place of a noun. So if it's functioning as a noun, but it looks like a verb that ends in ing, what does it have to be? A gerund or a participle? A gerund. Okay, so this one is a gerund. Looks like a verb, ends in ing, but it's in the place of a noun. Try this one. Try to finish in 5. Okay, most of us got this one as well. Now, where's our subject in this sentence? Okay, we're going to start going around the room. Diana, where's the subject in this sentence? He. Okay, Lathan, where is the verb? Began. What is to whistle, Ashton? Oh, actually, that's a question. Never mind. We haven't learned about that. We're going to learn about that on Monday. That's an infinitive. Okay, so he began, and then we have a direct object infinitive phrase, which we'll talk about on Monday. Okay, so we already have our subject. We already have our verb. We've already figured out what the rest of that sentence is doing. So what the heck is feeling doing, Ashton? What is feeling doing? You know. I'll give you a hint. We talked about it yesterday. Yeah. What's it adding more information about? Who's feeling? He. Right? It's giving us more information about he. So here we have a participle. Now, actually, we have an entire participial phrase right here before the comma. Do you remember what we talked about with commas yesterday? How if you have a part of a sentence that's offset by commas, and it starts with a verb that ends in ing, you probably have a participial phrase, right? Because participial phrases are considered non-essential, so they have to be surrounded by commas. So this one is a participle. Does that make sense to everybody? Do you guys have questions on this so far? All right, let's try this one. Kind of label the parts of the sentence in your mind and see if you can figure out how it's functioning. Let's try to finish in 5. Split. Okay, remember, my tip to you is label the parts of the sentence. So let's do it together. Go away. Okay. Logan, subject of the sentence. Puppy. Okay, puppy is the subject. Lauren, verb. Yeah, or does like is the verb phrase, not is an adverb modifying the verb phrase. So subject, verb, does like. Ready for Marcus? Mary. Puppy does like what? Yes, staying. So staying is our what? How would we label that? Aiden? It's our direct object. Okay, so if we labeled staying as our direct object, what does this have to be? Is it a gerund, a participle, or neither? Maddie? Second. It's a direct object. It looks like a verb. It ends in ing. It's in the place of where a noun should go, so it has to be what? A gerund. Okay, this is a gerund. This is why I say, you guys, label the parts of your sentence. It's going to help because we were able to identify that this is a direct object. Well, if you have what looks like a verb that ends in ing, that's in the place of where a noun should go, and a direct object always has to be a noun, then we know that that's a gerund. Okay, I gave you in your notes the different places in a sentence that you can see a gerund. So use it. Subject, direct object, indirect object, object of the preposition, or a predicate nominative. A gerund can be in any of those spots. So if you label and you see something that looks like this in one of those places, it's a gerund. Make sense? I feel like we're kind of starting to get it. Let's try this one. Let's try to finish in 5. Nice job. Okay, I think we're getting it. So again, you guys are kind of remembering, okay, we're labeling our sentence. All right, we can figure out what everything is, right? We've got subject he, organized verb, what did he organize, notes, his is modifying notes. So then we just have these two words waiting patiently. And there's that little comma there, separating it from the independent clause. So remember, the comma is like the big neon arrow flashing sign saying this is a what? What is it, Marcus? A participle. Okay, it's a participle, and like everybody got that right, so nice job. Try this one. This is our last one, and then we're going to take some more notes. Try to finish in 5. I'm just going to stop you there because look at that. 5 jobs, I think they've got it. Nice job, guys. Okay, this is a participle. Again, big neon flashing sign. We've got that comma. So this whole thing is a participial phrase. We've got our subject he, our verb introduced, our direct object topic. Okay, so this whole thing is modifying he. It's telling us more information about what he is doing, functioning as an adjective, and making it a participle. If we feel a little more confident on identifying gerunds and participles, give me like a thumbs up on how you're feeling. Like, I feel great. I feel like I can do it. And so, feeling terrible. Just show me where you're at. Everybody show me your thumbs. Where are you at identifying? Thank you. All right, here we go. Moving on. So now we got to talk about phrases. So just like participles, okay, gerunds can be part of a larger gerund phrase. Okay, so a gerund phrase will consist of the gerund along with its complements and modifiers. So it can also have prepositional phrases as modifiers, and together they all function as the noun. Okay, so you can have a lot of words that are working together as a gerund phrase, functioning as a single noun in the sentence. What? Crazy. I know. It's wild. This is why I love gerunds. They're a little bit wild.
Yeah.
All right, so here will be an example of that. Looking at the clock is a bad habit. Okay, our verb here is, right? Our linking verb. Looking at the clock is our gerund phrase functioning as our subject of the sentence, right? We've got a verb-looking thing ending in ing. It's in the place of a subject. At the clock is modifying looking. It's telling us where we're looking, which is why it's part of the gerund phrase. Okay, so this whole phrase is functioning as the subject of a sentence. Whoa. Oh, I'm so excited for you guys to diagram these next year. Do you want to see what the diagram for a gerund looks like? I know you do. It's the coolest thing ever. Okay, here it is. So you have your main line, and if your gerund is your subject, then you put this cool little thing in the spot. You do like these chicken feet. You kind of draw like the body of a stick person. Then what you do is you draw like a little staircase, like this. Oh my gosh. Oh, I'm getting like all excited for you guys to diagram these next year. These are so much fun. And so then it would be like this. It would be like looking. See, I told you they're kooky, right? It's like I'm just gonna press save down this staircase, and then it would be the prep phrase is gonna be below it at the clock, and then you separate it from your verb is, and then we've got habit as our predicate nominative, and then and that modified habit. I know you guys are so excited for next year when you get to learn how to do that, right? I'm so excited for you. That's why I love gerunds. I love diagramming gerunds. I can diagram them all day. All right, so that's how we work with the gerund phrase, right? Like if you look at the diagram, this whole thing is functioning in this subject spot on the diagram. Okay, so it's working together as a single subject of that sentence. Do you have a question, Chance?
Why doesn't it have what would it motivate for the second what
Why does it not have a comma like the participial phrases? Yeah, so like, are you asking like why isn't there a comma right here? Okay, that's a great question. Okay, so you guys, Chance is asking why isn't there a comma right here like we have with our participial phrases? Well, Chance, because this phrase is essential to the sentence. If we took that phrase out of the sentence would not make sense without it. The sentence would be, is a bad habit? That doesn't make any sense. Like, what's a bad habit? We don't know. We need that there. Gerunds are always going to be vital to making a sentence make sense. You cannot remove a gerund phrase from a sentence, otherwise the whole sentence falls apart and it's no longer a sentence. So Chance, to answer your question more directly, we only use commas to separate elements that are not essential to a sentence. Participial phrases are just adding extra information. We can take them out of the sentence, and the sentence still makes sense without it. But if we can't do that with gerund phrases, so we should have no commas because we never separate essential parts of the sentence with commas. Do you have another question?
Oh, the it test. Like instead of he loves swimming, he loves it. Instead of
we're gonna get there. Hang on, we're gonna get there. Okay? That's actually coming up right now. So remember the it test. Okay, when you're working, Chance, when you're working with a gerund phrase, you can still use the it test. But now you don't just replace the gerund with it, you replace the gerund phrase with it. So for example, if we look at this example, She dislikes gossiping about one's friends. Okay, so here we've got our subject she, we have our verb dislikes. Gossiping about one's friends is a gerund phrase functioning as the direct object of the sentence, right? We've got our gerund, about one's friends is telling us what she's gossiping about, so it's modifying gossiping, making it part of the gerund phrase. Well, to do the it test, what you have to do is you have to replace the whole phrase with the word it. So it would look like this. She dislikes it. Makes sense, right? It's kind of vague and not super specific, but it still makes sense as a sentence. So if you have a single word gerund, you replace it with it. If your sentence makes sense, you're good to go. You've identified a gerund. If you have a gerund phrase, you have to replace the whole phrase with it. Now, let's just play pretend here. Let's say that you identified gossiping as the gerund, but you didn't identify about one's friends as part of the phrase. Again, if you tried the it test, it wouldn't work. She dislikes it about one's friends. What? So then that should kind of be a red flag to yourself, like, hey, I did something wrong here. Okay, so then you can kind of reassess the sentence and ask yourself, am I missing anything that's part of the phrase, or did I incorrectly identify a gerund? But the it test is awesome. Is this making sense, you guys? Marcus! I'm going to get my ball out again. Chance just fetched it from under the couch for me. Yeah. All right, stay awake. Okay, let's do some practice to make sure that we identify how to understand how to identify, that's what I wanted to say, gerunds. So here we go. I want you guys in this example to underline the gerund or the gerund phrase. And if you're up for an added challenge, try to label the sentence so you can figure out how the gerund is functioning. Lathan, are you working on the paragraph? Okay, let's take about 5 more seconds to finish up here. All right. Okay, guys, this is looking really, really good. Okay, so really we only have one word in that sentence that fits the criteria for a gerund. There's only one word in that sentence that looks like a verb and ends in ing. What word is that? Eating, right? I heard somebody say it. So this is the only word in the sentence that even remotely looks like a gerund. So we just have to make sure that we identify if it's part of a phrase, we identify the whole phrase, and that we can figure out how it's functioning. So, Peyton, I left off with you. Subject and verb of the sentence, please. Yep, so I is the subject, like is the verb. So, Peyton, I'm going to pick on you again. So, how is eating functioning? Direct object. Santi, is there anything else that might be part of the gerund phrase, or is it just a single word gerund eating? It's eating healthy foods, okay, because healthy and foods are both giving us more information about eating. So eating healthy foods is our gerund phrase. All right, well, let's test it with our it test. I like it. Make sense?
Yeah.
Woo! We did it! We found the gerund phrase. Nice job. Let's do it again. Oh, is it? I don't know. I don't do work.
You changed phone.
I'm going to challenge you all to label the sentence. It's a good review for you guys to like keep practicing labeling because you're going to have to be able to do that next year when you're diagramming these suckers. Man, I'm surprised at how much you guys are remembering with labeling. This is looking really good. All right, let's take like 5 seconds to finish up. All right. Here we go. Let's label it together. Aiden, subject of the sentence, please. Recycling. Hey, it's a gerund, right? Because it looks like a verb. It ends in ing. It's functioning as a noun in the sentence. So there we have our gerund. Boom, right off the bat. Aiden, give me the verb as well. Gives. Okay, so subject, verb. Jamie, recycling gives what? Yes. Okay, so what would we label sense? No, we got subject, verb. Recycling gives what? You said sense, so we would label it. There you go, direct object. Now, why is of accomplishment not our direct object? What is it? Yeah, go ahead, Jamie. Yes, it's a prep phrase. Okay, remember, our key parts of our sentence can never be inside of a prep phrase. So you're never going to have your subject, your verb, or your complements inside of a prep phrase. So that's why sense is the direct object, because of accomplishment is a prep phrase. So recycling gives a sense to whom, then? So family is what? Yes, our indirect object. Nice job, guys. All right, now let's just test our gerund with our it test. Okay? So we replace our gerund with it. It gives our family a sense of accomplishment. Woo! It works. We found it. Nice job. Okay, try this one. This one's kind of hard to label because it's yeah, it's just kind of hard to label. So you can't label it. That's totally cool. You can probably label like the first half. Okay, let's finish the 5. Wait, then remember to do that. Okay, looking good. I think everybody identified the gerund. Again, there's really only one word in the sentence that could be a gerund, right? So there's only one that's like a verb that ends in ing. But let's label it just to double check. So Maddie, subject, verb, me. She's the subject, gave is the verb. All right. Tater tot. She gave what? Yeah, there you go. Ooh, that was close. So she gave try what? Knitting. Okay, so we've got subject, verb, direct object, indirect object. Okay, beautiful job. That was really, really good. This last one, a little tricky. Be careful. I'm going to start finishing 5. Oh my goodness, there's a lot going on here. Okay. Let's see if we can find the gerund. So, where did I leave off? Graydon! Where's our gerund? Laughing is our gerund. Kylie, is there any more to this gerund? Kylie, what more is there to this gerund? All of the stuff before it. His high-pitched compulsive laughing. Why? Why is all of that part of the gerund phrase? Who can explain that to me? Why is his high-pitched compulsive all part of the gerund phrase? Aiden. Great. The it test doesn't work unless you include all of this in it. If we said his high-pitched compulsive it makes me nervous, that doesn't make any sense. Right? But if we say it makes me nervous, that makes sense. Plus, his high-pitched and compulsive are all describing the type of laughing. They're all modifiers of the gerund. Therefore, they're all part of the gerund phrase. Does that make sense? All right. Do you have a question? Okay, what's your question?
Why do we use everything?
We'll talk later. Are you talking about this comma right here?
No.
This comma is just, okay, this comma is just separating two adjectives that are of equal importance in the sentence, which is why we need a comma between them. Okay, but if you look at this comma, we don't have anything that would work as like a participle before it, so it wouldn't make sense to have a participle. All right, homework. Gerund worksheet. You guys have a solid 10 minutes to get started on this worksheet. Okay, so you can go ahead and pull it out and get to work on it. If you have questions, please let me know. Okay, Ben, will you turn the light on for me, please?